right. Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's world's most exciting classroom. My name is Joe Grabowski, and I'll be your host for today. Wow, a lot has happened since last week. Last week, we connected with the team. They were still in the Falkland Islands. The ship was just getting ready to set sail and leave the islands. We had a great event where we got a little sneak peek of some of the wildlife. We had a little clip that we played to showcase some of that incredible wildlife. And then we had a special treat with students from the Falklands coming on board for a tour of the ship. And we were able to meet them, get a chance to ask them questions. They asked students in Canada, the US, and the UK some questions. So it really was a fun event to get to meet those students. Of course, we had our experiment. We had our curiosity of the week. But our satellite connectivity in the Falklands was a little bit up and down. So we got nice and lucky and we're able to meet the students and talk to the students, but we didn't really get to dive into the heart of the wildlife, the incredible wildlife, both on land and in the water surrounding those rugged, windswept islands. So that's what we're going to do today. Before we do that, I want to share my screen really quickly and just give everybody a feel for where the Oosterschelde is right now. So let me make sure that I pick the right screen here. There we go. So we are on our way to a new country. We were in Argentina, then we headed over to the Falklands, and now you can see here the Oosterschelde is making its way into these little channels here that are going to take us to Punta Arenas. So I'm going to zoom in here a little bit so we can see kind of where the Oosterschelde is right now. You can see we're still in that open water, but pretty soon I think things will get a little more protected as we head into this channel area, as we head towards our destination here. In Chile. We'll have new Darwin leaders come on board. I have no doubt there'll be more incredible stories and footage coming out from the projects we're working on there in Chile. So we have that to look forward to coming up. Okay, I promised we had some amazing individuals to bring in to take us into their experiences in the Falklands. And I wasn't kidding. We're going to beam in now on board the Oosterschelde. You saw that little image of the ship. Let's go into the ship, into the saloon. Let's see who we have waiting for us. There we go. We have Nico joining us. Nico is very familiar. He's joined us on many events. But today we have a special treat. We have Daniel joining us for the first time. They are incredible camera operators who have brought us stuff from all across the journey so far. It is great to see both of you today.
Oh, good morning, Joe. Good morning, everybody. Yeah, really glad to be here.
Yeah,
All right.
hello, everyone. It's a big pleasure to be representing the DARWIN operators here.
Excellent. Well, Daniel, why don't you take a moment, introduce yourself, Daniel. We haven't met you yet.
Yeah, Joey, of course. So I'm a marine biologist based in Brazil. I'm also an agile explorer. I've been working with storytelling for a couple of years now. And I joined DARWIN200 in Noronha when the ship was in northeastern Brazil, and now I had the opportunity to come back on board in Puerto Madryn. So I'm following with the guys all the way to we did the Falklands together, and now I'm heading with them to Punta Arenas, where I'm leaving the ship for now.
All right. And so, Nico, you have had the role of camera operator. You were a Darwin leader as well in Argentina. You're a National Geographic explorer too. It's always great to have you with us. And your Instagram channel is just always so full of such fun, exciting content as well.
Yes, it's really nice. We are keeping like always posting, and we are like having amazing stories also during the sail, also during the island, the visiting the island. Now we was making a lot of content also for Darwin100 social media, also for the projects of the Darwin leaders. So yeah, like really exciting now to keep making more stories, right?
Excellent. Well, I think today's going to be a lot of fun, today's event. We have a first time happening here. We got all three of us are National Geographic explorers. So we got a hat trick of National Geographic explorers here, which is pretty cool. We have a great group of classrooms tuning in. So to the classrooms who are joining us, don't be afraid to use the chat sidebar. Send in questions anytime today. Questions about Nico and Daniel, questions about the animals in the Falklands. And of course, if you want to know anything about the ship and things like that, we can absolutely share those as well. All right. So let us get into it. I'm going to share my screen and we're going to just dive right into some of this incredible video, some of this incredible material. In fact, the first video thing I want to do is a video to give us a little idea of the landscape of the Falklands. So let's make sure I pick the right video here. Yeah, this is the one. Play this little video here, and then from there we will. Okay, let's start with pictures because the video is not loading for me. So I'm going to try that again in a second. But let's start with pictures. Let's go to pictures first. That will load. Okay, so here we go. This first, I like this picture here, guys. This is kind of a little peek on the deck of the ship. Tell us a little bit about what's going on here.
Oh, so yes, here it was on the way here to the islands. At the first time we was like chilling because we was going out of Puerto Madryn, but when we was getting closer to the islands, we was getting like a big waves. Like we was making encounter with big waves or 7 meters, sometimes 6 meters. So and was my first time personally for me with a huge wave. So here is a picture with Luca making the watch system. We was on the blue watch, so we were like changing sometimes the time, but we need to work like with the sails and put some ropes and steering and and that kind of stuff. So was amazing, and the moon was behind, so it was a beautiful sunset with the moon, and
Yes.
putting the sails. So it's the best scenario I think to make a watch.
Is it hard to pull the sails up? I can see 3 of you look like you're working on those ropes.
Oh, sometimes yes, sometimes yes. Depends also of the strong of the wind, right? Because if the wind is really strong, maybe you need to pull a little bit more. But yes, depends of the circumstance. But
Okay, so this might happen from time to time. We are using a satellite signal to connect from the ship. So we might have little periods where Nico and Daniel might freeze on us, but usually it resolves itself pretty quickly. So let's give it a moment here and see if they're able to pop back in quickly. Sometimes they have to completely come back in. Oh, there we go. We got them back. Perfect. So you were just saying, Nico, that sometimes when the wind's really going, it's a little harder to get them up, the sails?
yes, but we always have so many hands also on deck. For example, there is Nadine, one of the crew members, and there is like Luca, another like Darwin leader. So it's always like more people and make it easier.
Gotcha. All right. And then here's a little peek at just, oh my gosh, you were talking about beautiful sunsets. I think this is a pretty good example here.
Yeah, in this case was a beautiful sunset. Here is on our way to Carcass, one of the islands here. And yeah, it was amazing because we were seeing also giant petrels. We are seeing a royal albatross, also we were seeing a lot of like marine seabirds. So we were seeing whales, and in that image we put like the sunset that just a giant petrel like passing through. So yeah, well, it was amazing sailing and amazing seeing that species, right?
A quite rare sunset, by the way, because we've had so many overcast days in the Falklands. So when we had a chance to witness a beautiful sunset, we make sure that we are all on deck.
Of course. Yeah, absolutely. So I think I can get the video to play this time because I want to give students a little feel for some of the landscape that you were in and exploring. So I'm going to try this again and see if this video will cooperate with me this time. I think it will. Here we go. You should be able to see that now up on the screen. Let's take a little look at this.
Yeah, this was amazing. Right. This island was one of the last island we was like West Point. Sometimes remembers me the places as the Caribbean, like the clear water, but with really cold weather and with a strong wind, right? So we got the chance to fly the drone, and we were seeing also some dolphins over there, and again the colonies of the gentoo penguins. So it was really nice. The place was called West Point, right?
West Point, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it tricky flying the drones? I imagine there's quite a bit of wind.
Yeah, we do not have many opportunities to fly the drone, Joy, to be honest. Like, it's the windiest place on planet Earth.
Yeah.
And I mean, we sometimes we have the opportunity to fly tougher drones like the Mavic 3. Now the guys who are doing some diving projects along the Falklands took the Mavic 3 of them. We only have the the DJI mini drones, which they cannot stand really much stronger wind. So we are barely flying it. But when we have the opportunity, we make sure to take off.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's get back into some of these photos here. Let's get into the wildlife, because I've been looking at these pictures all morning, and I'm so incredibly jealous of just what you got to see and interact with and experience. So we've got our king penguins here, second largest penguin in the world. Tell us a little bit about hanging out with these guys.
Oh, I thought.
Yeah, please.
Okay, yeah, that was one of the pictures on the second island we visit. Was crazy because in this picture we only saw this penguin. Like we don't see a big colony of the king's penguin in that at that time. After we saw, yeah, maybe more like 5,000. But at that moment we was seeing like gentoo penguins, rockhoppers penguins. They're really cool also. But after we met that king penguin, I was amazed because for me it was my first time also seeing the king penguin, like in the movies. So I get into a movie and I take out my camera. I just leave the things going on. So was a really personal encounter, eye to eyes, almost. I was in grass, So the people after when we post the picture, they said, the penguins are on the grass. They are not just in the snow, right?
Yeah.
So that's really nice because also the people can learn a little bit more of the environment of the penguins and the species.
I think that's really important because there's 18 species of penguins, and everybody thinks Antarctica, Antarctica, Antarctica. But actually only 4 of them are in Antarctica, and the rest can be found in places around the world. So
Yeah, that's crazy because also like for the movies or for example of that, it's always like in landscapes as snow and big glaciers. But in this case, it's like in a soccer field. Looks like
Yeah.
it is on a grass and on a
This,
garden.
this is actually the northernmost distribution of the king penguins in the Falklands. The colony, the biggest colony of the Falklands, is not nearly as big as the Antarctic colonies, which
Yeah.
are like some few hundred thousands of individuals. The biggest one here is, I think, a bit over 1,000 breeding pairs. But yeah, it's still really amazing to see that.
All right, let's get through some more of these pictures here. So here we're starting to see them in groups now, maybe closer to the water, like maybe we're a little more used to.
Yeah. In this case, we were seeing at Volunteer Point. Volunteer Point is a really famous place here on the islands because it's huge colonies of the king's penguin. And here you can see like the colonies sitting on the grass, like the huge amount. But after all, you can track all the way to the beach. And you can see like there it looks like the penguins on the Caribbean, right? Again, so they are like going, and you see like the crew going to the water and checking the waves, checking for everything, checking maybe the little ones go forward and 1 liter, so 1 liter, and everybody follows behind them. So that was crazy. See that behavior. Like for me, was also my first time seeing that behavior, seeing that species, and in that landscape, right? Because we were seeing it up before in the grass, and now close to the ocean was amazing. And they make really loud sounds sometimes, so it's really funny, like everything of them, like really interesting to photograph.
Yeah, and it looks like they have no fear of humans. It looks like we've got a picture here too. It looks like you can just get, they're just kind of like, hey, what's up? They don't really seem that concerned.
Yeah, they can get actually quite curious about us, but it really depends on the species. Like the Magellanic penguins, they are really afraid of humans. Like as soon as we get closer, they get to the burrows, to their nests. But both king penguins and gentoo penguins seem to be like a bit less afraid of us, right?
Yeah, like there, for example, was Daniel eye to eye with the king penguin, and maybe the king penguin was asking, "Oh, who?
What is this? Who is this human over here?"
And,
Who is this guy?
And you can see a little bit in this picture, like the difference maybe of the penguins on behind the scene. The penguins on behind the scene, they are like kind of like the puppies, like the chicks of the penguins. So they are like quite of different the hair, because they are like a little bit more like fluffy, like more like a teddy bear. And after when they grow up, they start to get the orange and yellow color, right? And
Yeah.
also it's an amazing also species for me, because you can like put in a picture like the love they have, right? So they for example, they are like a couple. Like I was trying like to get the shot of that, and they was going with the hand and in the sand. So and there is also the big colony, the huge colony.
Yeah. Oh, those colors are amazing. When you see that group like that together, it really just, wow, those oranges really pop.
Yeah, I was seeing like that picture's always like
Oh, look like we've had another little freeze with the satellite signal, but we'll give it a second, and I think we'll come back. Again, don't hesitate. If you have questions about the king penguins or other wildlife that we're going to see, use that chat sidebar, and we'll work some of those questions in as we're moving through. So just to give you a little bit more of the plan, we're going to look at a few more cool animal species. We'll have some questions. We'll have our Kahoot quiz, and then we'll take a look at things like our experiment of the week, and other fun things that we always have in our regular world's most exciting classroom events. So let's just give it another moment here, see if we can get Nico and Daniel back with us. While we do that, I've got a few more pictures we can kind of scan through. This is a beautiful shot here. You see the reflection of the king penguins kind of walking right along that little shore interface where the water's kind of just coming up on shore. Ah, there we go. I think we've got them back. All right.
yeah. Sometimes the internet, when it's a little bit bumpy, it starts to.
Well, we are in a pretty remote spot, so it's pretty amazing we can even do this at all, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. But I was saying like, for me, I always was seeing like that the penguin or that this species on documentaries or in social media,
Yeah.
in different posts on internet. Seeing like in person, like eye to eye, get that opportunity is like really amazing, unforgettable experience, right? Because after with the camera, you can retreat and say, "Oh, I was here," like
Yeah.
and huge colonies and the reflections of the sand. We
Yeah.
was playing a lot with different techniques in photography, I think.
So we have a question here in the chat from a classroom in Portugal, and they would like to know, do you know if the king penguins mate for life? Do you know if they always have the same partner?
So actually, the king, I was very curious about that because I always thought that penguins were all monogamous, but I just realized that king penguins they are actually, but mainly just within one breeding cycle. It's really rare that they keep the same partner after after the same breeding cycle. So for one season, mostly because I would say that for the huge parental care that they have to employ on their chicks, it's a really important feature. It's a very like smart trait to have as a species. But yeah, I was really surprised to realize that I read that only less than 30% of the couples remain the same after the breeding cycle. So yeah, they are monogamous, but just mainly for just one breeding cycle.
Okay, very cool, very interesting. Let's scan through a couple more photos here. We've got another big colony shot. Oh my gosh, there's hundreds there for sure.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and you can see like in that picture also, some of them you see like a little like ball in down there, and they are like the eggs actually. So they are like taking care of the eggs. Yeah,
There we
nice
go.
job.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now you can see like at the beginning I was saying that I was saying, oh, what's that, because what they was all seated, but after when we was like telling that picture was actually the eggs, and they was taking care of the eggs. So
And
for the
yeah, we were really lucky because by that time of the year, those eggs were laid in November and December. They take some 60, 70 days to hatch. So we are just in time to see both like the eggs and the really young chicks. So it's a really big diversity of like features in a colony. We were really lucky on that spot.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Very cool. So I know that it's such a cool kind of adaptation, keeping the egg on the feet to keep it off the cold ground. And then I think it's called a brooding pouch. They just cover up that egg. That's, yeah, really cool to be able to see that. All right. And then here, Nico, you were talking about the molting. So you can see the chicks here, and they're undergoing that molt where they're losing those young kind of downy feathers, and they're kind of getting those adult feathers coming in underneath.
Yeah, I think it's actually also because to get more defense, against the wind, because they are also in cold places. So when they are chicks, like a different, for example, I get the chance to document the steamer duck, right, on Puerto Madryn. Do you remember? Do you remember?
I do, yeah.
I get yeah, and so the steamer ducks they born and they are ready to go to the ocean. The chicks of the penguin they are not ready to go to the ocean. The father and the mother need to give not to swim. So yes, in this side, like this is like really important thing for them because they are like a little bit warmer, and after they learn how to go to the ocean and catch their own food.
All right. Before we leave our king penguins, I'm going to play one more little video clip you sent me of the king penguin. So let's make sure I pick the right one. There it is. Let's see them moving. Let's see them in action here.
Yeah, but more, there is a data from project that takes place in other places, so we're spending a couple of months out of the ship, but there's
All right. So, a question in the chat here, guys. They're wondering, the photos, are they being taken by you guys on the beach? And how close can you actually get to the penguins?
Yeah, those are all photos taken by us. And again, with the king penguins, we managed to get pretty close, like some 2 to 3 meters. And they don't really care. I mean, we could even get closer, but it doesn't make much sense to get closer than that. But yeah, they don't really care about us.
All right.
Yeah, and that was on the we had the chance to document in different landscapes, like we were seeing on the colony and at the beach, sometimes at the mountains, because the rock hopper, for example, they're in mountains, like and really high mountains, like in rocks. So you can see actually like jumping, and yeah, each penguin, each species of penguin was like really nice to photograph.
Well, speaking of species of penguins, let's jump through a couple more here. So these guys will be familiar. We were live in a colony of these melanogenetic penguins a few weeks ago, but it looks like they were in the Falklands too.
Yeah, we get the chance because almost when we saw, for example, king penguins or gentoo penguins are always like the Magallanes penguins. They are like mixing colonies. It's not just like maybe rockhoppers or maybe Magellanic or maybe a gentoo ones. They are like all together in most of the times. And here, for example, we was on a gentoo colony, and there was the Magellanic close to a little river. You can see some chicks, and the Magellanic, they make like the huge caves on the ground, like on the grass, on that kind of grass. And so yeah, and in this case they was like really curious, but they're also one of the species that they are really shy of sometimes of the human, right? A difference of the king penguin, for example. But in this picture they was seeing
I like this one.
Yeah, it's a very common contrast in the Falklands landscapes, penguin with sheeps.
Yeah,
in the farm sometimes, like the sheep, and with the dogs, and the Magallani get closer to the sheep, and you can see like maybe this kind of landscape, and it's really funny also to get photos.
All right. As we scan through a couple of these next species, tell us a little bit about these rock hoppers. They've got such cool eyebrows. They're really cool looking penguins.
Yeah, like one of the difference of these penguins, as you see, maybe of the eye, you was seeing maybe the eye color of the Magellanic or on the gentoo ones, or even of the kings, and they're like more white. And in this case, the rock hoppers, they're like red. And that's the main difference. And the other difference is like the blonde hair, the yellow hair they have up in there, and the form of the beak. They're really characteristic of the rock hoppers. And the other one, like that is like physically, but the other one is like in behavior. They are like they are not too fast as maybe the Magellanics that they go running, but they had the chance to jump. So that's the main like fact of the rock hoppers, because they live in rocky mountains, so they can jump over. and they get closer to the sea in really high mountains, and so that's the main fact of the rock hopper, right?
And it looks like you hit at the right time again, so that oops, got to zoom out a little. There we go. It looks like you hit at the right time again to see some of the chicks as well, which is really cool. There's a couple. There's one of the nests.
Oh, that's crazy. Daniel can tell
Yeah,
us.
that's a very interesting rockhopper penguin because he's standing on an albatross nest. So
Oh.
even though he fits just perfectly, he is not in the right spot.
Very, very cool. And it looks like they don't always get along from this picture here.
Yeah, like it's very interesting because they do these fights among adults, but they also encourage their chicks to run after them for food by doing this behavior. In this particular photo, there were two adults fighting.
Yeah.
But it's a behavior that they constantly are doing also with chicks. It's kind of stimulating to their youngs. It's really interesting to watch. They're really funny penguins to watch.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and also in that picture, you can see if you make a little bit zoom, Joe, on the mouth of the penguin, you can see actually how is the mouth of the penguin. You see, like it's really like weird. I never saw that before. So and that is for get the food easily, and so it's really like it's kind of also the
All right. Hopefully this pause doesn't last too long. But this is a really cool feature in the penguins. These little almost like grippers help them kind of grab those slippery fish that they like to eat. Leatherback sea turtles. If you look inside the mouth of a leatherback sea turtle, it looks a lot like this, and it helps them hold on to the jellyfish that they like to eat, which can be kind of slippery and hard to grip onto. This is a really cool adaptation. We're getting a nice, really close look at here. All right, we lost you for a second, but I think you're back.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
are
we
back.
have-
We are back.
So we have one more species here, the Gentoo penguin. We can't leave out the Gentoo.
Yeah, actually, the gentle ones are also one of my favorite penguins. One of the big difference between the rock hoppers and the other species of penguin in this case is they have, like for example, in Spanish is the vincha, because they have like that white thing, you know, on the around the eye, and that is the main difference.
Yeah.
Also, the shape of the beak. This is also one of the species like we will get the chance that behavior to see they jump out of the water. So looking for food, sometimes they jump out of the water, sometimes they just take out the head and see where is the food. And they are like on land, they are fast, but underwater they are really fast. And I get the chance to see also them like swimming around. They are like really fast and looking for some fish and different food. So that was also on the first island we get the chance to visit.
Nice.
Yeah, I think that's really cool, that behavior, porpoising when they jump out of the water like that as they're swimming. That's really neat to see that in action. And then, of course, we got to take a look at those chicks. Looks like they got little roly-poly chicks or a little extra skin there on those chicks.
Yeah, they're like a teddy bear. They're like really fluffy. In this picture was also I was trying to get the love of the penguins. That is one of the main facts on them. So
Yeah.
there was like maybe the mother and the father, and with the chicks, and the chicks like seeing. It's like a family picture, of the humans, but in penguins. So for me, I was trying to making a photograph that.
This photo is interesting because it shows like another difference. Differently from the rock hoppers, for example, the gentles, when the chicks are this big, they are still taken care by the parents. Whilst on the other hand, the rock hoppers, when the chicks are that big, the chicks group together among them, and they are like taken care communitarily. So by different adults at a time, they make a huge group of chicks. There are some pictures also that show that behavior. It's really interesting. It's a very different way of raising the chicks.
Very cool. Well, we love the penguins, but these birds of prey, oh my gosh, these guys are beautiful.
We get the chance also. We got with some bird expert, and they was the caracaras around the island, and they are also as curious as the penguins sometimes. Because if you live something like, for example, one case, Grant, one of the Darwin leaders, leave a pair of headphones, and after the caracara came to to get them, and after was flying around the island. So it's crazy because they are really curious for some for different things, and it's really common to see around the island here, like looking for food or looking for the different things with the tourists on the floor, right?
Yeah. And then we saw the albatross nest with the wrong person inside, the wrong species. But what species of albatross are these ones?
Yeah, these are the black-browed albatrosses.
All right, a little pause here, but we can definitely see why they get that black-browed albatross name. Oh, there we go.
We're back. Yeah. So yeah, these are the black-browed albatrosses. It's mainly because of that black broad you can easily spot on those photos. It's almost drawn by hand. It's very beautiful indeed.
Yeah.
And yeah, we got to see like some huge colonies, even though the biggest colony of the Falklands, which are in the Jason Islands, it's closed for tourists right now because of the bird flu. But this one was already like a couple of thousand nests, and it was really amazing. It was in Sanders Island, right?
Yeah,
Sanders
that
Island.
pictures are. Yeah.
Again, like really lucky with the timing because there are all these cheeks. We could see both like adult albatrosses building the nests, which is an amazing process because those nests are so huge, so robust, so massive. Some of them had eggs on it, and others young chicks. So watching the albatrosses feeding their chicks, so it's a very scene. It's a very interesting way of witnessing those masters of the seas just resting and having a good time with their chicks.
All right. And speaking of the seas, we have one last picture here. And that, I believe, is an orca. And you guys have been lucky enough to have some sightings.
This for me, it was one of the most interesting moments of our sailing. It was really fast, not really close. This was the best photo we managed to get, but it was very obvious that the killer whales were foraging, they were hunting. We are not sure on what. Could be either penguins, seals, even dolphins, or maybe even whales. But there was a massive group. You counted up to 5 orcas, and they were like all around the boats in the first instance. We could see all those splashes around and those blows and everything happening all at once. And after, let's say, some 5 minutes, they kind of chose their prey. That's why I think it was a big prey, maybe even a whale. And they spent like the rest of the splashing time really far away. So they actually started right to the right side of the boat and ended like.
All right. When we get Nico and Daniel back, we'll have a couple more minutes for questions. So if you do have any questions out there, now is the time. Don't be shy to pop those into the chat because we're going to switch gears and do our Kahoot quiz very, very shortly.
Yeah, we are back. So I don't know how much of it you heard, but yeah, it was a really intense moment with the orcas. It was really interesting to see like this hunting behavior of them.
Yeah, a pod of orcas. You said there was about 5 that you saw?
Yeah.
Amazing. And I know from reading and seeing videos that some of them hunt in a really interesting way in this area of the world, where they actually go right up on the beach to try and snag a seal or a penguin, which is pretty wild.
Yeah, like for example, the orcas is actually really nice because at the first time you can sight an orca because you can see like the white mark over there, right? So it's like a big beach dolphin, and you can see when you see the white mark, it's because it's an orca. After also in different parts of the world, they have like really different feed behaviors. Like for example, in Norway, they are going in the sardine in the bait balls, and they go through them and they eat them.
Yeah. All right. Come on, Signal. Let's see if we can get back. We'd love to do a few more questions, and then we'll do our Kahoot quiz.
Yeah. Like, for example, in Puerto Madryn, I get the chance to see another different behavior. They was going out of the beach, the behavior you said, Joe. They was trying to get some seals or elephant seal. But they go out of the beach, completely body, go out in the high tide. So if you go like 2 hours before the high tide and 2 hours after the high tide, you get more chance to see that behavior. Like for example, in the Patagonia, Argentina, and now here on these islands. They was maybe trying to see also some commersons, because on the way we was seeing some commerson dolphins. They are like, looks like a small orca, because they are like also black and white, but really small. And yes, and in each part of the world, it's nice to see the different behaviors that the orca have.
Yeah. I'm going to really quickly, just to share one more video clip, I'm going to pull open my WhatsApp, because you shared one of those little clips with me of those dolphins. So let me share my screen one more time, so we can see that.
Yeah, it was amazing, because in all our way, we was going with dolphin, with some that, yeah.
All right. Very cool to see them playing the waves like that.
Yeah, they was like actually like really professional surfers. They are one of the professionals, the world champion surf, I think, because yeah, they was like really close to the shore. And it remembers me as the behavior of the sharks in Noronha, but for a different reason, because the sharks in Noronha was also like 1-2 meters from the shore, and this case was also like 3-2 meters from the shore on West Point. And if you see, like, they was like surfing, and they was like chicks and big commerson. So it was nice to see that behavior, because it's not just on the middle of the ocean and riding and going with the boat. They are also like really close to the shore and playing with the waves, right? And in really pristine areas. So we get the chance also to see that behavior that not too much people see.
Amazing. I've got a question here in the chat from a class that would like to know, they know penguins eat fish, but will they eat anything else in the ocean?
I believe it's mainly fish and krill, some small crustaceans. But yeah, I'm not the best person to answer that question though. But yeah, fish and krill for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I really love that close-up picture of the rockhopper inside its mouth. It looks a lot like the inside of a leatherback sea turtle's mouth, so they can kind of grip their prey a little better.
Yeah, that I think is one of the main reasons also for the krill, so they can get the, like they can eat, and after you get the krill in that part of the mouth.
Yeah. So we saw a lot of beautiful pictures of birds, which is very common for islands because they're harder to get to for some species. Birds, obviously, like penguins that can swim and such. Did you see any mammals on the island, in the Falklands?
Yes.
Yeah, there are introduced rabbits in some islands. There are rats in the others, but no native. Did you see any native? Did we see any native? I don't think there are any.
No, we don't.
Yeah, we saw no native mammals, indeed.
Yeah.
Just invasive species, yeah.
Yeah. So I've got another question here about the orcas, and they're wondering, do they hunt as a group when they're in those pods to catch their prey? Do they work together?
Yes, they do work together in an amazingly smart way. Orcas are either fish-eating orcas or mammal-eating orcas. We could easily tell that those were mammal-eating orcas because of the very surface-active hunting behavior, while the fish-eating would be like some more underwater action. And actually, with this picture, we managed to identify it as a group of A orcas of the Antarctic ecotypes, which are mammal-eating orcas. But yeah, they do hunt in a group, and they do that in a very coordinated way.
Yeah, and we were seeing most of them like females, right? Because
only females indeed. Yeah, because we can tell the male by this massive dorsal fin.
Yeah,
and so every individual we were spotting were the females orcas hunting.
Amazing. Nico and Daniel, it has been such a pleasure to steal you guys for so long. Usually we do really kind of quick, and then we move on to another part of the event. But I really today wanted to focus on the wildlife in the Falklands, because you guys have been putting out such amazing pictures, such amazing video clips. I can't wait to see the videos from the Darwin leaders as they finish. It looks like you guys had an incredible experience on those just rugged, remote islands.
Yes, it is. It is a unique experience for us, for our work, for the project, for the.
All right, we'll give it another moment here. We got to get a proper goodbye here with Nico and Daniel before we get into our Kahoot quiz. Ah, there we go.
Yeah, I was saying like it's an amazing opportunity. It's a really unique opportunity here because for the purpose of the project, like we are doing conservation from there, it's also a nice opportunity for our work.
All right, come on, satellite, just a little bit more. A little bit more. You can see from the map just how remote they are. It's amazing we're having such a good connection from a little tall ship way down in the southern reaches of our planet. So let's try and get just a couple more seconds here. Come on, satellite, and then we'll jump into our Kahoot quiz together, and then we'll wrap up with our experiments that we need to check out for the next couple of weeks. Okay, in the background, maybe what we'll do while we wait to see if we can get them in one more time is I will launch the Kahoot quiz so classrooms can start to join us. So I'm going to do that quickly in the background, and then we will get that started. Classrooms can start joining, and hopefully we'll get a nice goodbye and thank you with Nico and Daniel, because they really did share some amazing stuff with us today. It really was a pleasure to have them with us for so long and ask so many questions. So much more about that. So if you would like to play Kahoot with us today, oh, they ducked out, so hopefully they'll pop back in one more time. Maybe, maybe not. We'll see what the satellite signal does for us. If you would like to join the Kahoot, you need to go to kahoot.it, kahoot.it, and then put in that pin, 744023. While you're doing that, I'm going to get back. Here we go. We got Nico and Daniel. We got to get a proper goodbye here with you guys.
Okay, yeah, we want to say you goodbye. Thank you very much, Joe, for the opportunity. Thank you also DARWIN200 for to be here. Really glad to see those species, and thank you for all the public that they was there making questions.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you very much. Thank you for everyone who are listening. We're very grateful to be here, very thankful to DARWIN200, and it's glad to know that DARWIN200 is also thankful for us to be here. So yeah, we're having an amazing time indeed.
All right. Well, absolute pleasure to have you guys today. Have fun out there. I can't wait to see what's coming next.
Yeah, we will send you some pictures.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye, Joey. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. See you.
See ya. All right. So back to our Kahoot action. Oh, thank you, satellite. Sometimes it's usually pretty good for being in these remote waters and places that we're exploring. So a few pauses today is not too big of a surprise, given how far south we are and how remote they are. So let's see if we can get a couple more classrooms here or a couple more individual students. Remember, you want to go to kahoot.it and use the pin 744023. If you have, some classrooms have devices at their desks, so students can join one-on-one, but in classrooms where they don't have that, your teacher can pop this up at the front of the room and you can shout out your answers to him or her. If you're joining us from home, scan that QR code and it will bring you into the quiz, and maybe on your phone or a tablet if you scan that QR code, and you'll be ready to go. We have 5 questions today, true and false, multiple choice. There are a couple questions about the animals that we learned about today. So the quicker you get your answer in, and if it's right, the more points you're going to get. So let's find out which classroom is going to take home a 50-pound Amazon gift card today. Let's get playing. All right, here we go. So our first question coming up. When penguins jump out of the water while swimming, it's called, is it spy hopping? Is it jumping? Is it porpoising? Or is it diving? So we saw those Gen 2 penguins. They zoom through the water. They jump out of the water. What is that called? Is it spy hopping? Is it jumping? Is it porpoising? Or is it diving? So sometimes they're looking for predators. Sometimes maybe they're looking for their prey. And they kind of jump and shoot out of the water. What was that called? You got a couple more seconds. All right. That was called porpoising. So kind of named after dolphin species. Dolphins are called porpoises, and they jump out of the water like that too while they're swimming. So when they jump out of the water like that, it's called porpoising. So let us get to our next question here. How many penguin species are there in the world? Was there 5? Did we say there was 10, Did we say there was 18, or did we say there was 25 species of penguins? So how many species of penguins are there in the world? 5, 10, 18, or 25? How many species of penguins do we have in the world? All right. Good job. Oh, actually, it looks like I made a mistake on this one. I clicked the wrong one. The correct answer is actually 18. But when I made the Kahoot quiz, I must have picked the wrong one. So we'll have to we'll wipe this question. But we can take a look at our leaderboard. The inspired panda is in first place. There are 18 species of penguins, 14 of them not in Antarctica. And they can be found as far north as the Galapagos, which I think is pretty amazing, right on the equator, the Galapagos penguin. Male penguins keep eggs on their feet to keep them warm. Is that true or false? The male penguins keep the eggs on their feet to keep them warm. True or false? We saw some pictures, so I think we'll have a pretty good idea of this one. True or false, that the male penguins keep those eggs on their feet to keep them warm. All right, that is absolutely true. They have that little pouch that kind of folds over as well, called a brooding pouch. And so the inspired panda is holding down that top spot. Let's go to another question here. When penguins change their feathers or lose their feathers, what do we call it? Do we call it loss? Do we call it shedding? Do we call it reduction? Or do we call it molting? So baby penguins have that fuzzy downy feather. It keeps them warm when they're left on shore. But when they lose that and start to get their adult feathers, is it loss? Is it shedding? Is it reduction? Or is it molting? Oh, good job. Couldn't fool this crew. It is molting. We have our final question now. We have a new leader as well, the royal meerkat. And let us get into our last question. Is it true and false? A group of orcas is called a school. Is that true or is that false? A group of orcas is called a school. So we know Nico and Daniel saw a group of 5 orcas not too long ago. Is that a school? Is that true or is that false? All right, that is false. A group of orcas is called a pod. Let's see our podium here before we look at our experiment for this week. The lively possum is in first place. The royal meerkat is holding down second place. That means in first place we've got the inspired panda. All right, crew, thank you so much for playing along with us today. I'm going to come back from that screen share here. And if you are the classroom with the inspired panda, you need to send me an email to ebtsoyp@gmail.com. So ebtsoyp@gmail.com. Send me an email. We'll make sure you get that gift card. And then if you don't get this down in time, the recording will be on the DARWIN200 website, but it's ebtsoyp@gmail.com. Get us that answer there. All right. So let us get to what we need to do to wrap up today, which is a look at our experiment. So 2 weeks ago, we had an experiment where we took cabbage, we chopped it up in a blender, and we used that cabbage to look at how acidic or basic something is. So we looked at the pH scale. So let's take a look at the results from that experiment before we see what our new experiment's going to be.
Welcome back. It's now time to test our red cabbage solution to see if we can find out differences in the acidity of these 5 different liquids from home. So let's start with vinegar. I'm going to pour in some vinegar into this first test tube and let's look if anything happens. Wow, look at that. The purple solution from those red cabbages has turned bright red. Compare that to the control. This is the pure red cabbage solution. That's pretty dramatic. That's very different. Okay, let's now try shampoo. This is a little bit more viscous, but hopefully it'll just about work. That one's a little bit sticky, so let's give that one a bit of a mix and get that dissolving properly. So that one's also turned quite red. Not quite as red as the vinegar, but still, it's more red than the control. That's definitely much darker purple colour. Now let's try some milk. Ah, that's interesting. So that one hasn't really changed colour at all. Of course, the milk's made it paler, but it's still the same purple hue as the control experiment. So that one actually hasn't really changed. Next, let's try the drain cleaner. There we go. And wow, look at that one. The drain cleaner's turned bright blue. Wasn't expecting that. And last but not least, we'll test fruit juice. I think this is a mixture of orange, mango, pineapple, passion fruit, and apple. So let's pour this in the last test tube. Oh wow, look. That's also turned bright red. If you shine a light behind all the test tubes, you'll be able to see the colours really clearly. So remember, the cabbage solution turns red if it's acidic. So we know for sure that the vinegar is very acidic. The shampoo is also pretty acidic as well. Not quite as red as the vinegar, but it's still very red. So we know that is acidic. And the test tube containing the milk hasn't actually changed colour. It's lighter, but that's hardly surprising because milk is a white liquid. But the colour is exactly the same as that of the purple control. So this would indicate that the milk is neutral. It's neither acid nor alkaline. The drain cleaner has turned really blue. Look at that. And that shows that it's alkaline. So of all of our test tubes here, that's the only one that's given an alkaline result. And last but not least, the fruit juice has also turned red. It's not quite as red as the vinegar on the other side here, but it still is red, so it's clearly acidic as well. You can use this pH indicator liquid made out of red cabbages to test the acidity or alkalinity of any liquids that you have at home or at school.
All right, very, very cool experiment. This week we have an experiment where we're going to look at flowers, and you will have 2 weeks to send in your results, photos from your experiment. Maybe you'll do them in the classroom, maybe you'll do it at home with your family, but you want to send in those pictures. 2 weeks to send them in for a chance at 3 50-pound Amazon gift cards. Let's take a look at the video for our experiment this week.
Welcome back, everyone. Did you know that flowers need to drink? Believe it or not, but in the stems of all vascular plants, there are tiny little veins called xylem and phloem. These transport sap. Sap is brought up from the roots and the stem of the plant all the way up to the flowers through those veins. And that's what sustains the flowers and keeps them open. Well, in today's experiment, I'm going to use pigment to show the transportation of the sap, and we should hopefully change these flowers a different colour. For our experiment today, you need some flowers. It doesn't actually matter what type of flowers they are. I'm going to use chrysanthemums and carnations. For best results, you really need to find white flowers because this will show that change of colour best. You also need some pigments. I'm using food colourings, and I've been told that different types of food colourings work differently. Some are really effective and some don't work at all. I've been told Wilton brand work really well, so we've got some Wilton brand food colouring. Next, you need 3 cups or beakers to fill up with water. Fill them up about halfway up. It doesn't actually matter if you get the level of the water exactly the same for this experiment. Just approximate like I'm doing here. And then you're ready to add your food colouring. You can choose any type of colour that you wish. I've chosen red, blue, and purple. So let's see if we can change our flowers these colours. Depending upon what type of food colouring you use, it might just be liquid, in which case put in about 15 to 20 drops. My ones are actually quite a thick paste, so I'm going to use this stick and mix it in. Remember, it has to be quite concentrated, so don't be afraid to put in quite a good amount of your food colouring to make those flowers change colour. Next to my next one, and the next one. My next one is blue. Let's put in some nice blue food colouring. Maybe a little bit more there. We want these flowers to turn nice and blue. And then last but not least, let's put some red in. A nice blob of food colouring in. Put a little bit more because we want those flowers to really change colour nicely. Perfect. You're then ready to put in your flowers. It's a really good idea to cut the flowers so they stand just above the top of your beakers or cups. So let's do that here. I'm going to snip off some of these lovely chrysanthemum flowers. About 10 centimetres, I think, should just about do it. We'll put in 2 of each kind into each beaker. Let's see if we can get a good colour change out of those ones. One, two, three, four. One more. Okay. All right, let's put those in now. So that's 1 chrysanthemum in the purple, 1 chrysanthemum in the blue, and 1 chrysanthemum in the red. And now we'll cut the carnations to the same length. Let's get 3 of these. And one last one here. And we'll put those in each of the beakers as well. You now have to leave your flowers for 24 to 48 hours. But check back regularly and see if there are any differences in how the 2 different species change colour. How fast does the colour changing process take place? You've got 2 weeks to send in your results to classroom@darwin200.com for a chance to win 3 £50 Amazon voucher prizes. Join the world's most exciting classroom in 2 weeks' time to find out the results of this experiment. Thanks and good luck.
Okay, so as Stu mentioned, 2 weeks for your flower experiment to try it out in your classroom, to try it out in your home. It takes about 24 to 48 hours, so there's lots of time to get it done. And then you're going to send your photos to classroom@darwin200.com, and we will select the top 3 from there. Classroom@darwin200.com. Now, to wrap things up today, we have our curiosity of the week. Last week's curiosity, we had lots of guesses come in. Most guessed that it was a plant material, that it didn't come from an animal, that it came from a plant. So let's take a look and see if our students were right with that guess.
Welcome back, everyone. Last week, I asked you to try and identify this little object here. Could you work out what this is? Well, it's actually a type of tropical seed. It's called a ditrocarp seed. This particular one I collected in Borneo nearly 20 years ago. And believe it or not, this seed can fly a bit like a sycamore seed. It gets dropped from the trees, and as it goes down, it spins just like a helicopter. They can then twirl their way down, often 50 meters or more from the tree. This helps the trees then spread and increase their distribution. So if you guessed a flying seed, you were absolutely correct, and well done. Now let's see if you can identify the next curiosity of the week.
Okay, so those students were right. It definitely came from a plant. It definitely had to do with the seeds. So that flying seed pod was our curiosity from last week. Let's take a look at this week's curiosity.
Welcome back, everyone. This week's curiosity is this little object here. It's a very strange little object. It's got mouths almost a bit like a duck. Can you guess whether this is part of an animal or a plant? Send in your answers to classroom@darwin200.com and find out the identity of this little object next week. Good luck.
There we go. Our experiment of the week. You have 2 weeks to send in your photos of that experiment, whether you do it at home or in the classroom. For the curiosity of the week, you have 1 week to send in your answer to the curiosity. Is it from a plant? Is it from an animal? And if it's from the plant or if it's from the animal, what do you think it is? Could it be a piece of coral? Could it be a part of a plant? Could it be something left behind from an animal? That is our curiosity. Send in your guesses, your answers to classroom@darwin200.com. Huge shout out to Nico and Daniel joining us live from the Oosterschelde today and sharing those amazing images and stories from their time in the Falkland Islands. A huge shout out to our classrooms for joining us, playing Kahoot with us, sending in those great questions for the Q&A time. And we have to end off our World's Most Exciting Classroom, as we do each week, with a shout out to our sponsors and supporters, without whom the Darwin 200 expedition, the world's most exciting classroom, it would not be possible. So thank you to everybody for tuning in this week, and let's wrap up with a quick thank you to our supporters.